Buenas tardes todos, ¿cómo están? We are doing this in the afternoon, just because we did get done snowboarding. But we'll start off with announcements and some of the topics that we might be discussing today.
Yeah. So what did you do last weekend?
So I got the privilege to go to Arizona to go see one of my favorite cousins, Eduardo. But I did get to
Eduardo.
I did get to go and snowboard out in the Snowbowl. But what did you do last weekend, Morgan?
I want to know about this black diamond. You're moving on too fast.
Oh, okay. So last week I got to go to the Snowbowl, which Arizona does have snow, which is crazy. I was trying to tell my dad that, and he thought I was crazy. You should have seen the people's faces when I was bringing a snowboard bag through the airport. They're like, what the hell is this kid doing with a snowboard bag? And I landed in the Mesa, Phoenix area, so people were just like staring at me like I was bonkers.
I'm like, what the hell is he doing? I mean, when you go to Idaho or like Montana, it's pretty normal at this time, but...
Yeah, no, but so I showed up, and so Eduardo and I got to go last Friday to the Snowbowl, which is the resort up in Flagstaff, Arizona, and we got to snowboard up there, which is funny because it was warm. We dressed like it was going to be cold, and we got a little too hot, so we had to take some of our clothes off. And then we showed up late because we misjudged timing-wise how long it was going to take to get there. And then my cousin decided that he also needed to get his board waxed instead of having it waxed beforehand or telling me to wax it or bring my stuff to wax it. But, besides the point, we got to go. So we got up there, and they had a couple, couple lanes. I don't know if they're lanes, but whatever. Open.
They only had a couple trails open.
Yeah, only had a couple trails open. It wasn't too busy, so we got to ride quite a bit, which was great. But that's, so when they say Black Diamond, it's steep. We went up to the tallest point. We were talking to some individuals that he was with his girlfriend, and he didn't mention to her how steep this was. So she goes in, she's like, where? She's like, oh, it should be fine. And he's like, oh, this is like a Black Diamond, this is steep. And her face was priceless. She's like, I don't know if I can do this. So we go down. It is steep. I've been down a few paths, but this one's intimidating. So Eduardo and I go down.
Did you body anyone?
No, I didn't, but Eduardo, that's what I was going to bring up. So Eduardo loses his edge or what happens, but he's coming down. And, it's so steep that you're going to slide down. So instead of Eduardo smacking the shit out of this person with his board, he turns around and slams him with his head. The kid apparently was just cramping up. That's why he was there, but Eduardo didn't see him when he fell. So,
which is always another reminder to not be like, if you fall in the middle of the lane, don't just sit there, like move, because that is a fall line and you're gonna get hit if you're just chilling there.
So I see this happen, so I'm watching this all unravel and I'm laughing. But Eduardo said that his back got adjusted from doing it, so it compressed pretty good. He said he felt
4 years ago he messed up his back and now it's just good.
Yeah, so he felt good after that one. But yeah, no, that resort was definitely interesting because everybody's flying by. So if you're not, I wouldn't say it's a great place to learn because you're either going to be in a lot of people's way at the beginning of the season. So you definitely need to know what you're doing.
Are there like baby hills or like bunny hills?
I think so. Well, I didn't check those out. We just went up to where we're comfortable.
So would you say that's like better than Pomerelle? Like, I mean, Pommy is like our like. So
Pomerelle is our. That's like, where we learned and
that's where our hearts are.
No, I would say that this is definitely steeper. It's definitely something different.
Yeah.
But I'd go back once all the
trails are all open.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'd go back. It was a good time. I definitely, if you checked out you have us on Instagram, there is a video of a little clip of what Eduardo and I were doing snowboarding. I did as a cameraman, I'm trying to record Eduardo. I did miss my edge and ate it, so I fell on the floor.
Almost hit someone.
I didn't body anybody though. She saw me coming. She scooted over, but I was definitely sliding. So, But that's a little about what I did last weekend. So that's kind of the announcement on my end. How was what'd you do last weekend then, Morgan?
So, like we mentioned before, we have the Indy Pass. So I went and visited Tess, like you know, obviously, and we wanted to go to 2 resorts, and like it was a great weekend. Like snowed, we had lots of powder. It was great. So on Saturday morning, we went up to Soldier, which we've never been. We haven't been, and then Tess and Sam haven't gone. Well, Sam has, but like Tess hadn't. And they had just opened, so I swear they had maybe groomed like once, maybe twice. But so it was like coming down with the snow, like right when we got there. I mean, Tess was like a gem and drove through a blizzard pretty much to get there.
It's always to get the great days. You have to put your life on the line.
So then we get there and we check in, and we go down and we do a couple runs, and which is weird because there's 2 lifts, but it's like consecutive. So it's like one, and then you have a catwalk to get to the second one, and then you can go all the way up. So we went up, all the way up a couple times. We're like going down, which pretty much all of it was powder, whether it was like a groomed run, or anything, it was pretty much powder. And then I think one of my last runs, I was like feeling real confident, like really cocky, and I think there were like 3 or 4 guys in front of me, and I went up by myself. And I was like strapping in, and they were like, no, we're just gonna follow her. And I don't think I've told you this, but I was like, okay, so in my mind I get like all hyped up. I'm like, well, I can't just go on a groomed run, right? Like, these guys are just gonna like follow me. And they didn't actually, which good thing, because I like go down like this normal like path, like groomed, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna cut off. Get like halfway through this powder and I just sink. Like I'm talking like waist deep powder. So then I'm like digging out, and Tess was like, I got down like probably like 10-15 minutes later because like I didn't want to unstrap, so I was like, no, I'm not unstrapping, definitely unstrapped. And then I got down and she was like, what happened?
Yeah, so for some people that don't understand, like, what does it feel to be buried? Like, what goes through your head, or what's the most annoying part?
Well, I mean, so going through powder is like surfing. Like, you have to like really lean back, and it just feels amazing when you're like going through powder. When you get stuck in powder, that's a whole nother story, because you don't think snow is so heavy, but then when you're legitimately in 3 feet of snow and you have to pick your 100 and some centimeter board out of it, it is just so heavy. And I think I like did a somersault backwards to try to get myself out, and that helped a little bit, but then I still got stuck, and it's just not a great feeling. You're like, okay, I'm going to use all my energy to get out of this snow right now.
Yeah, so like the biggest issue, and you know that, it's just the amount of work.
Right.
Like you're digging yourself basically out with a long piece of thing tied to your shoes.
And generally it's not even like you have to dig yourself out like very far. It's maybe like a couple feet, but you feel like you just hiked like 13 miles.
And then once you get out of it, though, I think the worst part is like if it's, it's a fresh powder path, no one's been down it, just to try to get speed down it, because if you don't have speed, you just get stuck again, and you're never ending battle. I remember last year when I was stuck, it was like 30 minutes of me trying to just get out of it.
Was that when we
was it we were Jose?
I think that was the one time that we just like used our snowboards as sleds.
Yeah, yep.
Because we got like so buried, and we were at a different resort, and the one that we went to second day, but we just like slid down because we were like, we couldn't get speed, and I was lucky enough to have like a path that was pretty well like established at that point, so I could just like go. But
and that was I think we stole the idea from someone else because we saw someone else do it, and I'm like, all right, I'm tired of being buried here. So we did slide down on the boards. It was a pretty good time.
But so then when we left, we were like driving along, and there was this guy in front of us in a Jeep Cherokee, and he just got like so stuck. I don't know if he was on his phone, and Tess and I were like nice enough to like stop. And this man gets out of his car and he's in shorts and slides. Like,
I mean, he just got done riding. He
I
just got
know,
the best workout
like,
of his life. What do
maybe,
you want him to
maybe
do?
you should have just like kept your boots on, I guess. I don't know, or just not been on your phone. But so then second day we went to like our home resort, Pomerelle, and that was really fun. Definitely felt like home, like you just know where to go, and some of our like really good paths were nice and soft. They weren't icy.
Yeah,
so it was just a great weekend because we did get a lot of snow, and it just made it extra fun.
Yeah, no, it definitely sounded like a good time. Speaking of someone getting stuck, so when Eduardo and I were riding up to the Snowbowl, there was a forerunner and it slid. Like the girl,
Seriously?
it slid right in front of us. I have a video.
Was she just like going too fast?
No, it was. I think it just she hit a patch of ice and her car swiveled, and you could tell.
Shit.
You could tell she's like, oh god. So she pulled to the side of the road and like thought about life and was thinking about, is this worth it? But I thought the path was pretty dry, but yeah, it happened right in front of us. I do have a video of it, which I'll just show you, but I just remember that happening and I was laughing. I was like, oh, I got that on camera.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, no, those paths up there, sometimes slick and, but.
And a lot of the times, like, I mean, outside of Burnsville, like today, they're usually like a trek up there. Like you need like a solid.
You definitely need 4-wheel drive, good winter tires.
When Tess and I were going up, we were following a little Camry, and that Camry was a little beast. Like it was getting through like good drifts and didn't get stuck. And then Tess and I obviously didn't get stuck, but then people were getting stuck in the parking lot. Like
I believe it.
But it was really hard to see. So I mean, whatever. But
that makes sense. No, it's funny because they always say you should good winter tires. If you live out in the Midwest, you know what it is to get some snow. Now try to have a large incline makes it difficult, but don't be driving a Mustang to go snowboarding up there. It's just rear-wheel drive is just a terrible idea. Don't be that person.
Yeah, definitely not rear-wheel drive is not the best. But like our first season, like little Sergio, your Honda Civic, was like going up there like a beast.
That's because I had all season tire. But yeah, no, definitely. Especially on those harder days it snows, you definitely want something with higher clearance because getting stuck up there, then you look like an idiot too. So definitely don't recommend that.
So. Okay, we both went to mountains, and today we did our first Midwest ski expedition, and we went to Buck Hill,
Yes.
Okay, thoughts? What are your thoughts?
So Buck Hill is like an hour, 40 minutes from us. It's one of the closer resorts, and by resorts...
it's definitely a hill. They don't call it a peak, they don't call it a mountain, it's a hill.
It's definitely, but it's definitely for what you get. The day pass is like 40
bucks.
which isn't bad. Definitely if you have kids and you have, family that wants to go, definitely a ski resort makes more sense just because you keep riding, you don't gotta strap on, strap off. It's too short for a snowboarder, I would say, in the sense.
Like when we bombed it, and we weren't even really bombing it because we were still carving, we were still doing what we should have been doing, and not just flat board straight down. And I think we were done in a minute, not even. It was, and we weren't even going fast. We were going fast, but we weren't going crazy fast.
Which is, I would say it's a good place to,
learn.
Fine-tune your skills because we rode switch most of the day, which switch is just riding the opposite what you're comfortable with.
Right, so we both ride normal, so we rode goofy all day, which, you're better at riding goofy than I am, and it's I was doing really good of getting in my mindset of like, I'm riding goofy, and you're like, hey, let's bomb. And I'm like, so I switch over to normal, and then I try to ride goofy again, and I'm like, I messed myself up.
Yeah, which Morgan has, that's what she's been kind of struggling, just trying to getting her like her mind to work with her feet, because when you're riding the opposite direction, it just doesn't feel right.
Doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
It's like riding with your left hand when you're a righty.
Yep.
Like, it just doesn't feel right. You can do it and you can get by if you have to, but it's not as fun.
Yeah, no, that's definitely, it's not bad. I did hit what's it called, a box, a rail, or whatever, right away.
Oh yeah, you did a box and you
ate it.
like went the wrong direction. Like you were like trying to snowplow down this box.
Yeah. So I ate it, and then there was a little jump.
Oh, also you did we've never done a rope.
Yeah, there's a rope to bring you up there.
But
which is definitely interesting. So the one thing we have been told about is the Midwest resorts are all terrain.
Right, and so there's beasts that come out of the Midwest.
There's definitely, if you want to fine tune your skills on
jumping and part.
Definitely a great place. They also had a half pipe, but it was closed.
Right.
Kinda.
I mean, you could get over there, but it was like a baby.
Yeah.
You could tell that they were just starting to
Exactly.
build it.
So it was. I thought we rode a little bit in it. I thought it was cool. I'd like to see it opened up.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was kind of my thoughts. What did you think about it?
I thought it was so. The first run we went, it was really fun. It was steep. It was steep.
Yeah.
But short, right? So you could still get some good speed, but there were some ski events going on that I think probably go on every weekend.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe every Saturday. So if you're going, that's just something to be cognizant
There's definitely
about.
a lot. You see a lot of younger kids,
right?
Which is great, because it makes you feel terrible that I'm 28,
like an 8-year-old just showing.
Yeah, just hitting jumps, and he's carving like it's another day in paradise, and I'm over here all right, kid, cool,
right?
Thanks.
Right, and I think another thing, if you're learning, great place to learn. They had a lot of ski instructors and snowboard. I think I saw one snowboard instructor.
Yeah, I think it's more. I think it's more. Like I said, I think it's more ski. Just this
just
Midwest would be
area.
Just be more skis.
Yeah, I think the quality of snow,
for when we went, was.
It wasn't bad. It's the middle of December, so it could have been a lot worse.
And these guys make majority of their snow.
Right. They haven't gotten a lot of snow. Yeah. So it was if you're normally skiing in the West, it's probably the same quality of snow if it hasn't snowed for a month and a half. It's icy, it's more dicey, it's hard when you fall, you don't want to fall. But by the middle of the day,
it kind of warmed up. It's a little more softer.
It was powdy, more powdery, which was, more ideal, right, for riding we're used to. But overall, I would say, if I would go back, it wasn't. I would definitely use my second Indy pass. Yep. But I really enjoy so far the Indy pass, it's super seamless, super great. I would recommend it to anyone who's very willing to travel.
Yeah, because travel is the big thing. Is if you're all over the place.
Because when you think about it, if we go out to Idaho for a month, we have friends that we can split lodging and gas with. If it's just you and your significant other, and you're going to Lutzen or Lutzen or however you say it, or
I think someone corrected me. It was Lutzen.
Lutzen.
Yeah. He looked at me weird because I think I said Lutzen, and he's like, "You mean Lutzen?" I was like, "Yeah, that one."
Yeah, that one. That one's pretty much in Canada.
Yeah,
right?
it's up north, way up north.
So if you're willing to drive, have the flexibility with your work, I think it's definitely worth it, and I would recommend it to anyone. But
no, I think we're on the same viewpoint. It's definitely cool, and we'll keep talking about it. We'll keep moving on, kind of telling you guys our experiences with different resorts and what we check out. Just from our viewpoint, we're not going to say we're the best. for sure, and we're not the best, but
I think it's just still fun because you get to like explore different resorts, and I mean, it's the best that we can do in the Midwest.
Exactly.
I think so. We gotta take it like with a grain of salt and just like be the best, like as positive as we can with it, and if we don't do it again, we don't do it again.
No, and that kind of ending with that. We'll just kind of transition to.
What are your cheese maze?
This month, if you're a soccer fan,
which I am not, and I thought the World Cup happened like every year. So when it started, I was like, why is it such a big deal?
But no, it's if you're any sports or anything, it's one of the biggest televised games in the world. But if you didn't know and you don't pay attention or don't know about this, it's Argentina and France are in the final, are playing in the finals.
So, is Argentina usually in it?
So Argentina is always good in the sense of they're always in the cup and they're always towards the.
They get to the end.
Yes. My dad and I were discussing this. It's always, you talk about big teams. You're always Brazil, Argentina, France, Spain.
Japan's usually in there, right?
No. So like to see, it's usually the same one. Brazil. If you look at who's won it, you're thinking in the last 20 years, you see Germany, Spain, France, Argentina. Like you see, it's always the same big people. So
Germany is good.
Yes, usually Germany's good. Netherlands every once in a while, but it's usually the same teams that kind of, you can kind of predict that they produce just good soccer players. But that being said, the last time France won they won the returning champions. They won back in 2018. Okay. And the last time Argentina won it was 1986.
So who are you putting your bets on?
So
I know we talked about this a little bit last night, but
so it's people like to say I was talking to some people at work and they're thinking it's rigged and they're like Argentina's going to win 2-1 just because they want Messi to win for reasons besides winning the World Cup. Sometimes I think sporting events are rigged, but my personal opinion is I think France is going to win 2-1.
You're going to put France.
Just because talking to my dad, I think France plays at a faster pace than Argentina.
So why do you think 2-1? Like, is that like a common soccer game score type thing?
Yeah, I just think they're going to be up 2-1. That's what, lucky guess. From, if soccer, they might be tied the whole way and go down to penalties. I know a lot of these teams have gone down to penalties, which is, you can be good at penalties, but sometimes it's just luck. And, you can talk to anybody. You can be the greatest player. But you might not score on a penalty kick-out, so.
And so, I pretty much only know, 2 soccer players, and who are the soccer players that anyone needs to know about?
Yes. Who are they? I don't know. Messi, Ronaldo and Messi?
Messi, right? Those are the only 2 that I know, and I'm like, you looked at me the other day, and you're like, you know them, right? I'm like, well, yeah. Yeah, they're the 2 biggest ones. I don't follow the sports, but at least I know them.
And no, I'm not. I always tell Morgan that I always tell her what's going on in the sports world because my thought is you always need to know a little bit of something because you never know who you're going to talk to.
Right.
So I'm not the biggest soccer fan, but my dad loves it, so I time in to make sure I know what's going on. I have friends. Ton, he loves soccer.
Really?
So I talk to him about it. So just being able to conversate. You don't have to know everything. So that's my guess. And hopefully Messi wins it because he definitely deserves it. If he wins a World Cup, he'd win it over Ronaldo. So they'd be considered the GOAT.
Wait, is Ronaldo? He never got a World Cup?
No, he plays for Portugal and they lost a couple games back.
Gotcha.
So and Messi's never won one for all the time he's played for Argentina.
Okay.
So it'd be a good thing. But France is a returning champion, and we'll see what goes on.
Right. And then what do you think? What do you think the biggest thing? And this would go into our topic today, is what do you think the biggest thing that the soccer players are focusing on for recovery at this point?
So, resting. And this comes, resting, making sure you get adequate sleep. You're, at that level, those people are...
And how long is a soccer game? 90 minutes, right?
90 minutes, yeah.
Okay.
Yep, and then you get into, there's like time that they add on depending how long they're
like penalties.
and stuff. So 90 minutes. So 90 minutes, they're running around for 90 minutes.
Right.
So most people, there's a lot of people that aren't a big fan because they think it's boring. But my sense, it's like hockey. It's just hockey's on ice and soccer's on the field. There's a few things different, but it's the same concept.
Right.
You score against a team, and it's kind of how it works.
Yeah.
But no, resting. The big thing is to make sure you're adequately resting, and that kind of brings it into the actual main topic of the conversation. And the chisme with the topic is 1 out of 3 adults
don't get enough sleep.
Yes, don't get enough sleep. And then, 20% of those Americans are involved in some type of shift work, which shift work is, flipping, or you're working straight nights. You're not working your normal 9 to 5 general working hours.
Right.
So, those are like the big things. And that leads into, since my week, this week has been kind of crazy just because I've been working a lot more overnights. I've been going to a couple facilities, at 11 and working till 2 a.m. Kind of offsets my sleeping schedule, right?
Right.
So,
and there's a lot of benefits that go along with like just having a regular sleep schedule, and those could be like making sure your body is like replenishing its immune system, getting enough adequate rest so it can replenish like its brain cells, and balancing your hormones. So your hunger hormones have a lot to do with it. It's ghrelin, which ghrelin makes you feel hungry. So if you're sleep deprived, your ghrelin goes up and your leptin goes down. So if you're getting adequate sleep, you're sleeping enough, you're sticking to a good schedule, your leptin is going to go up, which makes you feel full, makes you feel satiated, and your ghrelin's going to go down. So then you just like don't eat as much, and that obviously like helps you avoid obesity, diabetes. Also like making sure you're eating good quality food so your blood sugar is regulated. Like sleeping does regulate your blood sugar, but then you also have a piece of that throughout the day of making sure you're still balancing your blood sugar. And like I said, I mean, it just really just repairs your body. And I know I touched on this like briefly a little bit, but like if you're sleep deprived, you are going to just like feel more hungry. Your blood sugar is going to be out of whack. And you're like, if you are someone like us who like we lift and we're trying to get our body to grow more muscle, because I mean, having good skeletal muscle just helps you throughout your day and all of the things, right? It challenges you.
And that's a big thing, right? Like you're going to get to the point of...
But so like if you're sleep deprived, it inhibits your human
HGH.
growth hormone, your HGH. So when I was telling him this, he's like, that doesn't make any sense, because he thought like if you're sleep deprived you produce more. He's like, why am I not jacked?
So yeah, because you hear people that take supplements, enhanced supplements. HGH is a big thing, right? Human growth hormone. But in your what you're talking about is if you're not, your body's going to recover the best, right, when you're sleeping, right? Right. You can work out as crazy as you want, eat the best, but if you're not adequately sleeping, getting enough hours of sleep, enough rest time for your body to recover, it's kind of wasteful. Right. You're just like balancing it out. Like all the good is going to be negated by you not sleeping. Yeah, exactly. So like when you think about HGH, you're thinking, just think of the gains. And if I'm not sleeping enough, gains ain't coming. No. That's kind of, that's kind of the topic in the sense of, it's very difficult, especially on rotating shift, to get adequate sleep. Right. But, there's some remedies, there are some situations you can do. And I know tips and tricks. And that's, that's kind of some of the things. What I do is usually when I can't sleep, I try, I stretch. stretch, move my body in the sense of just trying to relax, get my muscles to relax so I can sleep better. Or sometimes that, like any other human, you don't get, you just can't
activity.
Enough activity and your body's just not ready for bed.
Right.
So what I do is I, stretch. I don't drink caffeine, so this one doesn't affect me. But
if you do,
don't try to drink caffeine after a certain time.
I think it's like 2 or 3 p.m. I've heard more frequently 2 p.m. because that generally humans go, or like adults go to bed around 10 o'clock, so it gives you 8 hours ish of not having any caffeine.
Yeah.
But
no, and then if you're shift worker is always just like the hardest part, because I used to work at a sugar factory, and some of my colleagues, they have a terrible
Was it like a day flip?
Yeah, it's called the DuPont schedule. So basically, they work 14 days out of the year, but in
14 days in the month.
Yeah, 14 days in the month. Yeah, not of the year. That'd be a great job.
I know, that would be Gucci. 14
days out of the month. So they'll have to switch from days to nights within a day or within 3 days, which any studies, anything we've read is it's very hard to get a sleeping schedule. Because
your body likes routines.
Yeah, exactly.
It kind of goes to our topic last time of routines and getting yourself don't be tied to your routines, but have a routine.
Yeah, especially for sleeping, because there is a such disorder, shift work sleep disorder, SWSD, which 10 to 40% of shift workers actually suffer from it. So they can't actually. They don't get enough adequate sleep, or they just can't fall asleep. And people working in the sugar business or on just because that's where I come from. I also work at an ethanol facility, and they work those rotating shifts, and that's the difficult part. Trying to get a schedule when you have to flip from days to nights.
Right.
But there's stuff like stretching, reading. Trying to dial down. I think the biggest one is making sure you're in a dark room.
Right.
Dark, cool room.
Your ideal sleeping conditions. You want to wind down for the night, and then you also want to make sure once you're wound down, you need to have a good sleeping condition for your room. So you want right now we don't have them, but we have them, but we don't have them up. You want blackout curtains. You want it as dark as possible. You want it as cool as possible. You want. Now, obviously, you don't want it at 50 degrees and freezing yourself out, right? But
because that has also negative effects of just freezing. You're either too cheap to heat it up, or just you think it's ideal.
And we sleep at we always have our house at 63 unless people are over. So that's good for us. We sleep good. Our body isn't too cold, isn't too hot. And some of the things that we were researching says a quiet room, and some people you can sleep pitch quiet, hear a pin drop on the floor, but that freaks me out.
Yeah.
So I have both of our fans going, so there's some sound, but it's not a TV or anything going on.
No.
So
that's kind of how I did reach out. That's kind of how we do things, but I did reach out to some people, and how. If you're, we have friends that are parents, and they for sure don't have a sleeping schedule.
Right.
You're dependent. You're dependent on your
child.
Yeah.
My child drives my sleep schedule.
Exactly. So they rely a little more on caffeine. But you have other people that are that go to bed they have a curfew, right? Curfew where they go to bed at a certain time every night, and they get up every day at the same time.
Right.
Just because that's what they adequately do.
And we still have friends that do that, but then they still rely on an insane amount of caffeine. And
Shane Boat probably is. Yeah.
And
he has way too much caffeine.
He said he was gonna try to wean off of it. I don't know if that has happened.
No.
But Shane let us know if it has or not. But so we generally are on the same sleep schedule. So we are I go to bed at 9:30, wake up at around 6 every morning, and that's I think the hardest thing for me to stick to that schedule is doing it all week. So it's you have to, studies recommend you should do it on the weekend as well. Not sleep in, still do it. But I can really tell, like, my body, if I stay up late, I just feel lethargic and all of the things. But recently, like you mentioned, you have to do, like, a little bit more third shift work. So, like, talk a little bit about how you've seen some of the impacts of what we've talked about and how that's kind of
for sure.
impacting you.
I can tell you it's terrible. Just because sometimes, in my line of business, I still have customers that operate from, your standard 8 to 5, right? So if I'm working third shift, I get back, sleep, but the sun is still up at 8, right? Like I still...
And how many hours are you averaging, like right now?
All right.
Like if you work like a third shift.
So this week was about 4 to 5 hours a night, which is terrible because...
And optimal is like 7 to 9.
Yeah, so like you're required to sleep, but like I said, my customers operate at this time, and I still, like you said, I have a pattern in which I try to go to bed at 9:30, 9 o'clock. But when I deviate from shift work, then I just sleep in later. But this last week I had to get up because I had meetings in the morning. So, you kind of adjust what we were reading in the studies, and what they were saying is to, if you stay up late, to make sure you sleep in later at that time to adjust it, right? But to always have a pattern normally. But when I'm working the shift work, it's kind of all over the place, which, I can tell... on Friday, I worked till 4 a.m. I went to bed at 4 a.m. Got up at 8:30 because I had a meeting at 9. And I got 4 hours of sleep, which is adequate in the sense of like I slept, but that rest of that whole day I am dragging because your body
you're missing out on 3 to 4 hours.
Exactly, because your body hasn't actually been able to relax.
So on those days, do you like feel more hungry?
No, so. I'm not usually. I just don't eat.
I know. I shouldn't have asked you this.
Because it's like a bad. Exactly, it's a bad because
you just don't eat.
Yeah, because if I have stuff to do, I just don't eat, and same thing when I'm stressed, I just don't eat. So I don't have that. Other people have the other effect where if they're tired or they're stressed, they just can't stop eating.
Right.
But I don't have that, so I just don't eat. So it doesn't really affect me. But I did feel tired, right? Like the first time I slept in my bed was. Last night,
right?
And I didn't want to get up this morning because I'm still dragging hours of no sleep. Because at some point it catches up to you, right? If you don't get enough sleep, like your body's gonna be like no.
And I think you talked to me about this like back maybe in like caveman days. I don't know if it's that long ago, but like you said that. You read something that people would sleep for a few hours, go and like hunt, be the hunter-gatherer, and then come back and sleep. And that's kind of what our bodies were used to for so long, but that's not how our society works right now. It's you wake up at 6 if you're a normal job, and wake up at 6, you go to work, say at 8, you work till 5, you go to bed at 9. Like, that's just kind of your schedule. You don't have a built-in 3 hours, an hour to nap in the day.
Yep, and that, when you said napping, it's also, there's people that nap too long. So I've experienced that where, I don't take naps unless I'm working late at night and I know that I'm going to fall asleep on the road, so I nap. But if you have a normal schedule and you take naps, what they're saying is that it affects you sleeping at night. So if you take anything longer from 30 minutes to an hour, you suffer sleeping later that night just because you've started the process of recovering. So you can't, you're sleeping too long.
I guess that really makes sense because when I take a long nap, it like takes you like hours to feel like you're like up and functioning again. So it makes sense that your body is like really going down into like the resting, recovering side of things. But
yeah, I know some people that take like 3-hour naps and it's like, all right, man, you should probably get up and about and move a little bit, but that's kind of what they're saying on the the nap situation. But yeah, that's kind of my experience on the sleeping thing. I'm still right now I'm still very tired.
Yeah.
But the bad part is your life goes on. But should also consider there's health issues with not sleeping enough,
And you don't want to, like, if it's every now and again, say you're going out with your friends and go on a bender for a weekend,
three,
right?
4-day bender.
Like, that's fine. Or if, like, but it shouldn't be, like, prolonged. You should really be, like, focusing on getting those hours of sleep. And even if it's not your normal 9 to 6, if you can still, some of the things I was reading in preparation for this was, it doesn't necessarily always matter when you're sleeping. It just matters that you're getting the amount of sleep that you need.
And that's stuff that I just more of the approach on the rotating shifts, just because I've seen that's kind of a struggle. But yeah, just making sure you get adequate sleep. I know some people, some of the studies were saying, keeping a diary of how many hours of sleep and making sure that you're hitting that number.
Right.
So it's just something.
So it's just like consistent. So
Yep.
like, oh, I feel good at 8 hours of sleep. I feel really bad at 9 hours of sleep. Maybe 10 hours is your ultimate, like, that's how you thrive. Maybe 10 hours. Like, it's not just everyone. Some people might thrive off of 6. Some people may really need 10.
Yeah.
It's just like body dependent, and it's kind of like you got to figure it out, right? Like, you got to figure out how many hours you want to sleep or however many hours you need to sleep. So.
Yep. So So
the
just
main point is really just focus on getting sleep.
Getting adequate sleep. If that requires, resting, getting relaxed before you go to bed. If you're having issues in a situation where you're not tired yet, get up out of your bed and read a book. The one thing I want to mention is don't lay in bed once you wake up, right? So there is a tendency for people to lay in bed for an extra hours. You want to build that concept that your bed is
just for sleeping.
Yeah, because if you deviate from that, your body's going, I'm just going to relax in here.
Right.
What you want to do is have your mind remember my bed is to sleep.
And just like focus on maybe your couch is where you scroll on your phone for a little while or watch TV, but we've never really had a TV in our room. We don't do that, and I think that's partially why I can fall asleep so quickly is like I don't sit on my phone at night. I don't sit on my phone in the morning. It's strictly just for sleep.
So morning doesn't stay in, but on the other hand, I struggle on that because it's warm. But definitely something that you can do. Make sure to get that concept of that. Once you're up, get out of your bed, start moving so your body understands that once you lay in bed, it's time to rest. But keep a diary, stretch, read. I know when I read at night, it straight puts me out. So, and sometimes you do have that pacing mind. Another thing is, write that down. If you have too many problems going up to bed, to make sure you write all those problems down and have that
journal.
Yes, and keep that for the next day, right? Because you want to have that adequate time to sleep.
Right.
Because without sleep, then you're.
And wind down activities might be different for everyone.
Yep.
Just find what's good for you and focus on just sleep and make sure you're getting quality sleep. And other than that, focus on sleep. Make sure to not be so sleep deprived over the holidays. But I think that really wraps us up for this week. We're gonna try to do a podcast next week.
Yeah, so we won't have these cool, beautiful snowboards in the background.
No.
So we might have something cooler.
Yeah, we might have some nice, fun, festive items involved. I don't know. We'll have to see. We have a week to plan it. Yep. But other than that, stay safe if you're doing any traveling. I think that's pretty much all. Yep. But if you want to, we would appreciate if you liked and subscribed. Also follow us on Instagram,
TikTok, YouTube.
We're on all of the things.
Yes. And Spotify. We're about one view away from being able to do some cool things. So
thanks for listening.
You guys have a good rest of the day, and we'll see you next week.
See you later. Bye.